Hey y'all, because that way you can get in your pajamas. Okay, so go have Daddy do that for you. All right, love you. Okay, guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel, Real Talk Recovery, where we talk about recovery from addiction, and I share my life with you. So, you guys, tonight what I want to talk about is developing healthy coping skills after a lifelong addiction, or however long your addiction was 10 years, 15 years, 12 years, 2 years, 3 years, 1 year, 6 months, it don't matter. I want to talk about how to build new healthy coping skills and what, hey Liz, and what I have found that works for me and helps me. So, I'll give you guys a little bit to get here because I see people are coming in. Hey Maria. Hey Liz. And I'm probably only going to do like 30 minutes tonight. Hey, Krissy. Nope. Called him twice last week. And I called Rory. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Healthy coping skills. So, I know. Don't worry. It's okay, though, girl. I just got to wait and see what happens. They might be raising, because they're raising money. There's also another girl that, her name is Amby, and she lives in Lexington. And she was in our chat today. Because she was asking me if I knew Andrew, and I was like, yeah. So, okay. So there's 7 of us. Okay, I'll go ahead and get started. So, let's talk about coping skills. All right. So I always try to share from my own personal experience because, well, that's what I have experience in. So I was in active addiction for, we'll say 12 and a half years. Okay. From the time I was about 17 and a half till the time I was 32. So that's a long time, you guys, to be using drugs. Okay. So when we're out there and we're drinking and we're using, right? For me, when I started drinking and using, I didn't just start knowing how to roll a joint, okay? I didn't start knowing how to snort cocaine. I didn't know how to do any of those things. In fact, I can remember the first time I ever smoked a joint, right? Hey Stephanie, hey Lou. I was with my boyfriend at the time. We'll say RD. I was with RD and he was like passing me the joint and I was like, what am I supposed to do? How do I do it? Because I had never done it before. So those were things that I had to learn over time. I learned how to, do drugs and alcohol. I learned how to, practice those things. So just like I learned how to drink and use, when I got sober, I had to learn new coping skills and how to stay sober, right? I had to learn how to I had to learn how to do different behaviors, you guys, because I was so used to doing the same things over and over again, right? I was so used to negative behavior, okay? So, let's say, okay, when we get sober, when you get sober, you have to want to change. So that's the number one thing. You got to be willing, okay? You got to be willing to be honest, okay? Open-minded and willing. Those are the 3 things that you need when you start out. And you got to have that determination, right? Because when you first get sober, you guys, it's not like, oh yeah, this is going to be so easy. Because what happens is, or at least for me, let me talk from my experience. Okay, when I first came out of treatment, you guys, I was so afraid. I because all the other times I had tried to get sober, I wasn't successful, but there was something that was different about this last time. One, I had a child, and I love my son more than anything in the whole wide world. And so having that little guy, like, depending on me and needing me, that really motivated me to make changes. So, one of the first things that I started out with when I first got out of treatment was I got myself a sponsor or an accountability partner or a mentor, okay? You can get a sponsor through a 12-step fellowship. You can get a mentor, somebody that you look up to that has experience in something that in recovery, or you can get an accountability partner, which is somebody who you guys can use each other to help each other, right? So I have all those things. I have a mentor, I have an accountability partner, and I have a sponsor. Okay, so when I first started out with my sponsor, the way I went and looked for one was I was going to meetings, and I would listen to what the women were sharing, and I was like, how am I going to ask somebody to be my sponsor? I was so nervous, you guys. So when I finally asked somebody to be my sponsor, all she did was tell me, hey, call me every day and let's check in, right? And so that was the first thing I was going to start doing that I didn't normally do, which was call and check in with somebody, right? Call and say, hey, I'm having a good day. This is what I'm doing. So transitioning into calling someone and checking in every day was hard for me because, first of all, I didn't want to be kept tabs on, right? I was so used to running amok. I was so used to just being out there doing what I wanted to do, running the streets, stealing, thieving, lying, cheating, that I didn't want to have somebody keeping tabs on me. I almost felt like, well, what do I have to call you for? But I knew that I had to try something different, right? I knew that I had to try something different because all the years before that, I had tried to get sober on my own accord, and I had tried to do things the way I wanted to do them, and they did not work out. It did not work out. One of the main reasons I got high was because I had no energy. Like I had no motivation. Like I was very lethargic a lot, right? Or tired. So a lot of the times the reason I would get high was because I wanted to do stuff. I wanted to feel more energy. I wanted to be high. I wanted to have that, and do stuff kind of feeling, right? And so when I got sober, I was really just bored. Okay? And for me, boredom is like such a trigger because when I'm bored, all I do is think. When I'm bored, I'm left alone in my own mind. Right? So Krissy, that's where this was hard for me. I'm telling you, Krissy, and I know that it's hard for all of us to like check in with somebody, you guys. Like, I know it is. I know, believe me, I understand. But you're not bothering anybody when you check in with them, just so you know. And I had to learn that. So I'm bored. I don't know how to do anything with my time except for use drugs, right? So I was sitting there at my house and I'm like, that's when the thoughts started coming in. Well, you should call Jennifer up and see if she's got some Xanax. And I was just like, I was faced with such a drastic consequence, losing my son, right? Losing my son to the state, that I knew that if I called Jennifer and got a Xanax, that my son would be gone. I would never get my son back. So that was kind of a good thing for me that I had that consequence hanging over my head. Because if I didn't, I probably would have called Jennifer and got a Xanax. You know what I'm saying? But that consequence, I'm telling you guys, that consequence of having my son taken saved my little derriere. Okay? So the thought came into my mind, and that's when I was like, I gotta call her. And so I called Jean and I was like, hey, I just thought about getting Xanax. And she's like, what? And she's older than me. She's like 65. So she was like, you've been thinking about getting Xanax? Then that means we need to get to a meeting, And I was like, at this time, I was just like, ugh, I don't want to go to meetings, right? I don't want to get out out of the comfort of my home. I don't want to be around other people. I don't want to have to socialize, because when I first got sober, you guys, like, it was really hard for me to go around like big groups of people. And I don't know if it was because, like, neurologically, like, I was healing because of, it was like, when I, especially the first 6 months of my recovery, I was like really, really awkward around large groups of people. Like stuttering, like felt like everybody was staring at me, oversharing. Y'all think I overshare now? Psst, y'all ain't know. Oversharing, and like just so awkward. So awkward. So when I would go to these meetings with all these people who were sober and who had been sober for a long time, I would just feel like everybody was looking at me, but they weren't. But I felt like they were. And that's what my sponsor would tell me. She was like, it's not all about you. Nobody's even thinking about you in here. They're in here to save their own asses. Right? And I was like, she's right. You know what I mean? She's right. They're in here because they need to be here just like I need to be here. And then I was just like, it made me start thinking about how I think that everything is about me, and how these people are in here because they're desperate to stay sober like I'm desperate to stay sober. You know, like, I needed to be around other people that were just like me and that were struggling just like I was. So I kept calling her. I went to that meeting that night, and I started going to meetings a lot. Like 3 days a week is a lot to me, especially since I had to find a babysitter every time I went. And I would just go just to keep myself busy, because I didn't have a job yet. Well, after about 2 months, I found a job, and I started working. Okay, but guess what? I was working at a job where it was a restaurant and people had drugs. So I was constantly being faced with drugs, triggers. And it was like, you know, every time I would get faced with triggers, I would literally freak out. One time I had a panic attack because this guy had Xanaxes at work. And it literally, I don't know if it was because I wanted to take them so bad, because I begged him to give me one, and he wouldn't give it to me because he knew I was in recovery. That's how bad it was, you guys. I was hyperventilating. It was like I was just so restless, irritable, and discontent on the inside that I just wanted some kind of relief. You know what I mean? But I'm so glad. I am so glad that he didn't give me a Xanax. Because if he had given me that Xanax, I probably would have died, you guys. I probably would have taken it and then went off on a bender and killed myself. You know? But I am telling you, like, even now, I think those thoughts sometimes. Like, I'll tell you all this. The other day, my friend called me that's an active addiction, and she was like really messed up. And I was talking to her, and I was like trying to help her and tell her, you know, it's going to be okay. You've got to get back on track, but I can't come and help you, because she wanted me to come help her move her stuff into a new place. But for a split second, my mind went to, well, you could get high, you could do a line, and then you could help her pack all of her stuff up real fast. And then you could come home and nobody would ever know. For a split second, my mind went there, and I was like, I don't even know why my mind went there, but it went there because she was calling me, and I heard how she was high. I could hear it in the tone of her voice. And that's what I knew right there. I was like, if you go around her, you are going to relapse. And so I didn't go around her. And I came straight home, and I went and got my little boy, and I looked at my son. I look at my son every time, you guys. Whenever that happens, I look at my son, and I pray to God. I pray to God, please, God, help me. Because it happens sometimes, because I don't know why. Because I love my life today. I love my life, but it still happens. And it always happens. It always happens about meth or Xanax. Always. And when that happens, though, you guys, I play the tape all the way through. That's that's a coping skill I have learned, is to reach out for help and call somebody and to play the tape all the way through. Have you guys ever heard of that? Whenever you think about getting high, instead of stopping at how good it's going to feel and how much fun you're going to have, I want you to go in your mind and play that tape past that. I want you to play the tape past the fun, past the euphoria, okay? I want you to play the tape to the part where DHS comes and knocks your door down and takes your kids away. I want you to play the tape to the part where your husband finds you passed out and divorces you because you keep relapsing on heroin. I want you to play the tape all the way through to your family looking over you dead in a casket. And that's what I think about. I think about Nathaniel not having anybody. I think about my son coming home and me being totally whacked out. And my husband not being off until 10 o'clock at night because he works late. And my son being all alone. And so it's not worth it to me. It's not worth it. I don't want my son to have to be without me ever again. And you know what? That's happened before. My son was taken because of my actions. Because I was on drugs. Because I wasn't responsible and I didn't take care of him. And so I don't ever want that to happen to him. So one of the only things I know how to do is to think about what would happen if I did that. There's never not a time that I don't play the tape all the way through. I think I've practiced so much that my brain is trained to go to that horrible place. You know what I mean? But before I had gotten my brain trained to the point of never, like I always think of all the horrible things that could happen. But my son, I don't know if it's because I just love him so much. I don't know what it is, but it's like, I don't know what I would do if I didn't have my son, you guys. If I didn't have my son, I would probably be on drugs, dead. Because I would just be, I don't know if I could find that strength inside of me. You know what I'm saying? I wonder if, I wonder if those thoughts will ever go away. You know, like, I think about that a lot sometimes, like, is this going to be like this forever? And I've met some people who got like 25 years sober. And they tell me that, you know, yeah, the thoughts still come, but they don't have to act on them. You know what I'm saying? But you know what I think happens, you guys? I think what happens is the more I practice giving back, sharing my experience here on my channel, the more those thoughts of getting high and drinking subside. So the more things I do to fight against my addiction, like positive affirmations, coming on here and sharing with you guys like ways that we can build ourselves up, you know, like looking in the mirror and saying, I'm proud of you, Nicole. You've come so far. Looking at old pictures of me when I was in active addiction, man, I'm telling you what, you guys, that gives me so much, just like, I look at my eyes and I see how dead in my eyes I was. I see how, like, I was just like, I look like a heroin addict. I was just like, you know what I mean? Like, no emotion. Looking at those pictures, like, really encourages me to keep doing what I'm doing. doing things for my family and for my son, like making dinner. Like today, I did spring clean, and I pulled out behind all kinds of stuff in our house. And I'm talking, I sucked up dust bunnies from every corner of this house. And I felt good after I did it. I dusted, I wiped down all the window sills. I vacuumed, I put smell goods all over the house. And I felt good. I felt accomplished after I did that. You know what I mean? I made Neil these really bomb-ass Angus hamburgers with Swiss cheese melted on top and onion hamburger rolls and Cajun fries. Then me and Nate went for a walk, and you should have seen it, you guys. I was pushing him. I had our dog, Paco, the Chihuahua, in the stroller. And we was listening to music. And we was dancing all the way up and down the road. And Paco, Nate goes, look at Paco. He's just sitting there like a little gentleman. And the more positive things I do, the more that pushes the thoughts out of my mind. Do you know what I'm saying? The more people that I talk to here from my channel that I meet, who you guys like email me and reach out to me and stuff, the more I'm like, okay, Nicole, you got to keep doing this. You got to keep doing this. You got to keep staying on the right track. You got to keep doing the right thing. Because for the longest time, you guys, like, I wasn't doing any of this stuff because of me, right? I was doing it because of my son. And it's like now I'm getting to a point where I want to do it because of me. You know, I'm getting to a point where I want to keep on doing the right thing because it feels good inside. You know what I'm saying? Because when you do shitty shit for so long, it sucks. It sucks. It sucks when you have to wake up every morning and shoot up. It sucks when you have to steal to get drugs. Because I don't know about you guys, but I might start out having a job when I'm in addiction. But by the time I get done, I have nothing. You know, I'm not a drug addict that can manage my life. Like, when I get strung out, y'all, I lose everything. And you find me walking on the side of the road talking to myself. The days where I could manage my life and, like, do shit on drugs have long been over. I crossed over this imaginary line, you guys, where it's like when I shoot dope, I go automatically to psychopath world. I automatically go into psychosis. You know, I automatically go into chewing people's faces off. Like, for real, y'all. And so, like, I also think about that, you know, but I'm telling you, a lot of the things that help me cope with the thoughts that I have of using, a lot of the things that I have are you guys, my son, playing that tape all the way through, my family, thinking about how Nathaniel wouldn't have anybody. It's a lot of internal processing, right? I'm going to tell you right away, though, like, when I got sober, I got rid of all the people in my life who still used and drank. I'm telling you guys right now, I don't hang out with anyone who gets high. Real talk, y'all. I don't hang out with people. Because you know why? It's dangerous. I feel like it's a liability. So, my husband is my best friend. You guys are my friends. You know, y'all are my family. Nathaniel, you guys, Neil, my mom and dad, my sisters. You know, my sister Michelle, she's sober. So if we lived in the same city, I'd be hanging out with my sisters. But they live in Hot Springs. But when we all get together, I go and we all hang out. And I love it. It's like, you guys, I'm telling you right now, all these things that seem like they matter when you're in active addiction, all those friends that you thought were your friends, they're not going to be anywhere around when you get sober. Because when you get sober and you start doing things right, and this is what I've also realized. when you start doing the right thing and you start getting serious about your recovery, the people who aren't serious, they don't want to be around you. The people who aren't serious, they'll do anything to bring you back to where they're at. But I'm telling you, you just got to keep pushing forward. And at first, you might feel a little lonely, right? But I'd rather be lonely than high and in my active addiction, right? Getting rid of my people, places, and things, you guys, that was what held me back for so long. Do you hear me? I wouldn't let go of those people for years, 10 plus years of going back to the same kind of people. Oh, don't get me wrong. It wasn't the same people all the time, because you know how it is in drug addiction. It's like a filter effect. It's like people come and go, and then you got new people that are doing the same thing, but it's always the same type of people. If you're a tweaker or somebody who shoots dope, you know, you always get the same kind of shooting dope friends around you, because you can't hang out with people who don't shoot up, because, well, when you're shooting up, they're like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? So you hang out with people who use needles. I'm sure it's the same way with people. I know it was for me when I was snorting and smoking. I hung out with people who were snorting and smoking, you know, but that was probably the one thing that held me back for many years, was continuing to keep those same people around, thinking that they cared about me, you guys, thinking that they had my best interest at heart when they didn't, you know. I learned the hard way that those don't give a damn. You know, I learned the hard way when I caught my felony, because everybody was like, when their dope was in my car and they could have taken responsibility for it. Do you know what I'm saying? You guys, if you're struggling with coping with sobriety, if you're struggling because you're sober and if you're struggling because you're sober and you keep on having triggers and thoughts of using, okay? This is what I had to do. I had to start looking around at my life and figuring out, what stressors am I experiencing? Because a lot of the times when I would get triggered, it would either be because I was bored, or it would be because I was going through something in my life that was stressing me the fuck out. Okay? So, for instance, when I first got sober, my son was in state's custody. So I was going to court dates once a month. And listen, y'all, if you've ever been to court because your kids got taken away, it is the worst fucking feeling in the world to go to that court and to have people talking about you like you're not there, trying to take your kid away from you forever. Especially when you're doing good. The attorney ad litem, my son's attorney, did not want me to have my son back. She wanted me to have my rights taken away forever. And when I got sober, I did not relapse. And I started doing everything the state asked me to do. But this woman did not like me, and she wanted my son to go to my sister-in-law. Well, honey, that wasn't going to happen on my watch. So every day I would work, and I would do my parenting classes, and I would go to my meetings, and I would get my sheet signed, and I would do all the things they asked me to do and more, you guys. And anything I could do, right, to show the judge that I was serious about wanting to change. I mean, I was going to extra meetings. I was going to all these addiction courses so that way I could learn about my disease, so that way I could show the judge, I'm serious. I'm serious about, loving my son. I made a mistake. Yes, I was a bad mother. Yes, I was being irresponsible. I made a mistake. I don't want to live that way anymore, right? Well, during that time, it was so stressful. And at that time, I thought about wanting to get high all the time because I was so stressed out. So I want you guys to think about it. If you're sober and you're struggling with triggers and wanting to use right now, you need to start looking at your life and saying, okay, am I putting my recovery first of all? Okay? Is my recovery at the forefront of my life? Because you guys, even though I have a son, even though I have a husband, I will tell you something right now. My recovery is number one. Do you know why?
Actually, it's number 80,080.
Do you know why? Because if my recovery is not number one, then I will lose my son and I'll lose my husband. So my recovery has to be first. So that means if you're married and you have a husband and you have a job and you're not making time for your meetings and talking to your sponsor or your mentor or your accountability partner, and you're not making time for your recovery, then that's probably why you're having so much triggers and stuff. Because you're trying to balance your life and your job and everything else before your recovery. But I promise, if you'll shift some things around and you'll put your recovery first, as in wake up in the morning before your feet hit the ground, ask your higher power, guide me and show me how to live today. Show me how to live sober today. Okay? Like you have to, the minute you wake up in the morning. Yeah.
What kind of door is that?
That's to the garage. The minute you wake up in the morning, your thought has to be recovery. I'm on my recovery today. Right? And this is especially serious when you're first getting sober, you guys, because we have to condition our brain, right? That's what you're doing. You're training your brain to be sober, to live sober life. Just like when you woke up in the morning and the first thing you would think about was getting high and you would go find your drugs. Now you got to think about what you're going to do to stay sober today. So if you got to make a plan each day, right? These are things you guys need to be writing down. This is all coping skills, okay? When you wake up in the morning, make yourself a list of things that you're going to do that are going to benefit your sobriety that day. Whether that means, oh, Nicole said she's going live at 9 a.m. I'll be there at the 9 a.m. meditation meeting with Nicole and all the people on YouTube. Check, there's my morning, right? Or I'm going to go to a meeting and go have coffee with some of my sober girlfriends after work today. Check.
Sober girlfriends?
Sober girlfriends. Or meditation. I'm going to do some yoga and meditation. I'm going to do some self-care today and make a list of all the reasons why I'm grateful for my sober life today. I'm going to do something nice for my family today, right? These are all things that you guys can do to help yourself in your recovery. When I first started out, you guys, I made lists of things I was going to do for the day, because if I left my schedule too wide open, then it left me too much room for mistakes, too much room for, you know what I'm talking about, getting messed up and going out and doing something stupid. So I would schedule my days to the hour, y'all. And now it's so much a working part of my mind. It's so much a habit that I wake up and I'm like, okay, I'm grateful for this morning. Already making a gratitude list, a mental gratitude list. Why I'm grateful to be awake and alive and the sun is shining. Then I get dressed to take my shower, get Nate ready, drop him off at school. Oh, I got to talk to everybody and tell them about why I'm grateful to be alive today. Pop on to YouTube. Let everybody know. This is how we're starting our day off. Let's start our day off on the right foot, right? It's like, it's a habit. It is a working part of my mind, right? To do the next right thing.
Drugs like different. You said, let's go bring Nate to go to school and do some bad things and work it doo-doo butt crack.
Oh, okay. So when you're on drugs, you work at doo-doo butt crack? Oh, I love you.
You gonna do some more funny?
No, I'm fixing to get off here so you can stop wanting attention, boy. But that's what I'm talking about, you guys. Like, when you first are getting sober.
Mommy!
Yeah.
Can I have something to eat?
Okay, yes, I'll be right there. Make your recovery number one, okay? And that, I'm not meaning like, oh, well, I can't do that, Nicole, because then it triggers me. I think about addiction all day long. No, that's not what I'm talking about, okay? I'm talking about doing things that are going to help you in your life. These are things you can change about your life just Just if you don't even have to be a drug addict, okay? Waking up in gratitude is the first thing I want you guys to start doing, okay? Waking up in gratitude. That means if you have to, write down 3 things that you're grateful for every single morning. And if you don't want to write them down, then wake up and make yourself a mental list. So that's the first thing you can do. Wake up in gratitude, okay? The second thing you can do is tell your HP, hey, higher power, guide my will. So all you got to do is say, guide me today, right? Guide me, HP. So that's the second thing you're going to do, all right? The third thing you're going to do is try to connect with one person that's sober that you can talk to on a daily basis, okay? Just connect. Connect with somebody that's sober. A mentor, a sponsor, an accountability partner, anybody. But connect with one person that's sober, okay, each day. And do something for someone else. It doesn't matter if it's making dinner for your husband, going and take your mom out to eat for lunch, but do something for somebody else. Help somebody else. That's what it is. Help somebody else. I'm not talking about help a drug addict get sober, because you don't need to be doing that. You're not ready for that yet, okay? I don't want you putting yourself in a compromising situation. What I mean is, be of service to someone. You know, be there for your family, be there for your kids, be there for your husband, but be of service. Help somebody, okay? And the last thing that you need to do, okay? Let's see. Gratitude, guide, ask your higher power to guide you, connect with your sober support, help somebody, and I always try to end my night, you guys, with thanking my higher power, okay? Just saying thank you, God, because my higher power is God. But that way you are connecting with your higher power once in the morning and once in the afternoon. And you know what? These are things that I do every single day, you guys, and these things help me. So I wake up, 3 things I'm grateful for. Ask my higher power to guide me and keep me sober. Connect with my support system, help somebody else, and thank my higher power. I wrote it all down for you guys, but that's easy. You guys can do that. You can do that while you're at home. You don't even have to get out of your home to do that, you guys. And I'm telling you, that was going to help you, because you know what? I bet you half of you all aren't even connecting with anybody, are you guys? And so you're isolating over there in your house all by yourself all the time. That's not good for you, okay? So we're going to have to start doing these things, you guys, because it's going to help you change your life, okay? And then once we get a little bit farther along, we'll start adding some more stuff to the list. But this is a good beginning list, you guys, to start out. It's easy, and you guys can do it, okay? So, I love you guys. And listen, don't get it twisted. I'm not trying to, preach to you guys. I don't know everything, okay? I'm just trying to share with you guys what I do, okay? And I just get excited about it when I'm sharing. I don't know everything about recovery, but what I do know is that these things help me so much. And I had to learn how to change things in my life, because I didn't do any of these things when I was in active addiction. Gratitude? Pfft, what's gratitude? I hate my life, okay? Prayer? I hate God, okay? Connect with somebody? Screw that. I'm not coming out of my house. I'm high. You know, these help somebody. Shh, you better help me. What can you do to benefit me? Okay? These are things that I did. Those are the things I did in active addiction. So now what we're doing, you guys, is we're doing the opposite. That's basically what we're doing. We're doing the opposite of all the things we did in active addiction. So if you were like me, by the time I got farther enough down in my addiction, you guys, I didn't come out of where I was at. I got messed up, and I was there in that place and never left. So I'm challenging you guys. I'm challenging you guys to start doing these things in your life every day, okay? Gratitude list. Ask your higher power to guide you. Connect with somebody that's sober.
So horrifying and weird.
Help somebody.
What is this?
And thank your higher power. That's a cattail, and I don't know how. Anyways, I love you guys.
But the stick on here isn't the
Do these things, and I promise you, your life will change. Your life will change. And I will see you guys Friday night at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time for our medically assisted treatment anonymous meeting. And then tomorrow morning, I'll see you guys at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time.
You're going to do 3